The truth they don't want you to see. Hidden secrets. It's going to be a great show today, folks. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
When white people, there's a weird connection between owls, UFOs, and aliens. I know, just hear me out. Once you start diving into UFO lore, you end up going down some strange rabbit holes.
The owls are not what they seem.
At first, I'd hear an owl mentioned in a UFO case and think, oh yeah, hey, that's cool, that's interesting. And then I hear it again, and again, and again. And turns out in many abduction reports, people describe seeing large, unblinking owls, often outside a window or in the woods. But under hypnosis or later reflection, that owl, it's not an owl. It's usually a gray alien.
Why is it always the grays?
This is what researchers call a screen memory. It's the brain's way of protecting you from something traumatic by replacing it with something more familiar. One guy who's done a ton of research on this is Mike Cleland. In his book, The Messengers, he's documented hundreds of cases where owl sightings overlap with UFOs, abductions, and strange synchronicities. And if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, look up CIA programs like MK Ultra and Project Stargate. Some subjects reported seeing owl-like beings during altered states or hypnosis. So yeah, weird connections. I'm not claiming anything. Are owls just being owls? I don't know. What do you think is going on? Follow the UAP pod for more.
I've only heard one hooting late at night from time to time, but it's been lately too.
Activity down there, Richard.
Well, over the years, there's been not hundreds of cases, but literally thousands of cases of UFOs landing or being seen over the ice.
Looks like a missile launching.
And they thought it was a missile launching. Right. They realized it wasn't anything that they'd ever seen. It wasn't a conventional rocket. They saw them landing. So they figured there must be a base down here someplace. And so they brought a United States Marine Expeditionary Force down there. I think it was one company of a 220 Marines that was established there.
Even today, if you do not join the United Nations, your country is not allowed to go to Antarctica.
Exactly.
That tells a lot right there.
The team that was exploring Antarctica some years ago found these tunnels, and they came into a room that was lit, a sphere, a circular room. And what they noticed all around was, like, embedded into the ice was pictures of another planet and of extraterrestrial beings all over. But what was unique about it is they were looking at their planet. At least it looked like another world. Mm-hmm. And it was in a holographic sense. It was as if it was alive looking back at them.
Any proof, footage? We all have cameras.
In most major cities, they're recycling dead people and feeding it to the living. What does that mean exactly? And they're grinding up the bones into powder. They call this calcium phosphate, which is going to be used for food processing. Undoubtedly. Maybe in your vitamins. And so what are the implications when people start eating dead people, like cannibalism? Is there going to be kuru running around out there? Mad cow disease? What about in a spiritual sense? What is that like when you're eating and drinking dead people? Of course, they're spraying this on the food supply. Irrigation. They're using dead people as compost, and people are drinking it. So what does that mean? What does that feel like? When they're feeding the dead to the living, you know the end is near.
Watch the movie Soylent Green.
During World War II, the Nazi soldiers, were taking eth. Yeah, the thing that starts with the M and it ends with the ETH.
Ooh.
Yeah. This is how their performance was enhanced. And this rug was used undercover. Now, these soldiers were able to stay up for days. This happened in 1933 and began during their Third Reich. And basically, there was a prohibition of the use of recreational rugs. You get this book, The People's History of the United States, off the TikTok shop. I'll put the link here. But basically, this rug was a secret, and it remained in place for, a while, where they could use it to stay up. And the Nazi Germans would give it to their soldiers. And even Hitler took it for a stomach problem with a mix of probiotics and vitamins. This was something called Pervin, and it was a stimulant. Basically the same thing as F. And at the time, they liked to call it a waking up agent. So it treated conditions such as depression.
There is a documentary about it. I forgot what it's called.
Hello from the big Romanian giant. That is a stone giant, and I'm going to explain to you because you'll see it anyway. So this is his foot, the leg. This is the body. This is his hand underneath, and then his head is actually said that it's actually here, and this is his eye. So this is the nose. Yes, and that is the one eye and the other. So this is the head. So this giant actually, it said that is the one that when it's going to wake up, all the universe, I would say all the earth, it will be renewed, and the people will actually transit to a new dimension. So enjoy it, and I'll keep you posted from the giant at Corby de Teatro, Argeș.
That's interesting.
Also, let's talk about this whole alien thing. Now, with all of the information that's been coming out over the last, 15, 20 years pretty much, most of you, if you truly are chosen, have felt it in your heart, and you have absorbed some of that information into your heart, into your soul, because the Almighty has allowed you to understand that there is a lot of truth there, okay? Now, you have to remember, there's a lot of guys on TikTok out here who are telling you right now that those who are coming are not actually aliens. Well, I've been saying that for years also. Here's what they are. They're the spirits of the Nephilim, the displaced spirits of the Nephilim, the giants, the titans, right? The demigods of the pre-flood era. That's who these demons are. Now, if they indeed have found a way to live in these little alien flesh suits, or they're possessing people, or whatever the case may freaking be, it doesn't matter, because we serve the Most High. And if we're going to spend all of our time just being concerned over every light that we see in the sky, when the Almighty tells us himself that they're going to be throwing sky signs and wonders in the skies, then we're going to be missing the point. Yes, we're supposed to be paying attention. Yes, we're supposed to be aware of the situation so that we don't get caught off guard. But being too aware can also mislead you. You understand?
That's right.
Focus on the Most High. Focus on the will of the Master, of Yeshua. What does he want you to do today? I'm supposed to get up, honor him, say my prayers, study, soak his word into my core, go out for the day and live my life for him. Okay? Yes, things are coming. Huge things, right? Revelation type things are coming. We know that. But don't believe the hype, because no matter what it is, I don't care if it's spaceships pulling up over your cities, I don't care what it is, it's not the Master. Don't honor it. Don't pay attention to it. Don't fall for it. Guard yourselves with his word. Remember, at some point they're going to be coming for our Bibles. So for those of you who haven't taken the time to let that word soak into your spirit, you need to do so. And like I said in my previous video, if indeed these are the tribulation days, that would mean that you and I are the tribulation saints. So we damn well better start acting like it.
Yes, this is good. Psalms 91. Much love, family of God.
They tell you this is impossible, but this guy is literally running on the ocean floor. They call him the Aquaman of our time, and it looks like he's not entirely human. Meet Davi. He's 35, and his abilities are just insane. He dives 36 meters, 118 feet, with no scuba gear. But that's nothing. He walks on the seabed for over an hour like he's strolling through a park. He even fucking works out down there. He's lifting dumbbells. He's eating breakfast. Underwater. And recently, he swam 125 kilometers in 50 hours. And the kicker? Orcas and sea lions escorted him like he was one of them. They literally accepted him as one of their own. Officially, he's just a free diver. But right now, he's training to dive into the Mariana Trench. So who is this guy really? Just an athlete? Or the result of some secret genetic experiment? Or maybe he's just not from here. They don't want you to question reality. The algorithm might hide this video. Follow us to see the proof they're trying to hide.
An hour? Come on. That's exaggerated. I doubt it. 10, 20 minutes? Maybe. But an hour? Questionable.
The IRS used one organization as the model to shove every religion into. And that one organization was the Salvation Army. And they created 14 points and said, this is what the Salvation Army does, so this is what church is. Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, you name it, is tucked into that same 14 points. You need a house of worship. You need a board of elders. You need a creed or a form of worship. You need childcare. It's literally just replicas of the Salvation Army. Today, there's 400,000 churches in the US. You know what else is a church? The Hell's Angels. What? Yeah, they're registered as a church. I had someone from the CIA call me a few months ago. They were like, hey, Nathan, what do you know about the 14-point checklist? All I know is what the head of the IRS, the nonprofit sector, told me. And they go, okay, good, but it wasn't IRS that created that.
Who was it?
The CIA. And I said, why would they do that? They go, Christianity is dangerous. Yes. And I said, yes. And they go, Islam is dangerous. Yes. And I said, yes. And so they go, why not put everything into a box that you can control? So the carrot that the government uses to get religion into that box is tax exempt.
Didn't all of these churches exist before the Salvation Army? Come on, man. But anyway, religions are bad. What you need is relationship with Christ.
There's a company called Porta Johns. Porta Johns is the biggest porta potty company in the United States of America. They have a subsidiary company called Enzymes of America. When I say they, I'm talking about the pharmaceutical industry. You know where Enzymes of America gets their enzymes from? They have a contract with Porta Johns.
Get out of here.
Porta Johns gathers all the pee. They then put it through a process to get and isolate the enzyme, one being urokinase. You cannot patent something that occurs naturally in nature. So they take urokinase, they then mix it with a bunch of synthetic garbage. That's the drug that they're giving you, and they're basically selling you your own urine back to yourself, only under the disguise of a patented drug. But if they allowed you as a human being to understand what I just said, then people would have free medicine, and they can't have that.
Wait until you find out what they do at the wastewater treatment places.
Politics, sports, and mainstream narratives are not organic. They are scripted psychological operations designed to extract human energy, create engagement, and shape collective perception. The purpose of this scripting is to hijack consciousness, manipulate emotions, and keep people trapped in cycles of reaction instead of creation. Let's break down exactly why everything is scripted, what the system gains from it, and how to break free. 1. Politics and sports. Manufactured emotional manipulation. Why politics is a scripted reality show. Politicians are actors playing out a pre-written storyline designed to maximize division and engagement. The illusion of choice, left versus right, Democrat versus Republican, is a psychological game. Both sides serve the same system. Political drama keeps people emotionally invested, distracted, and reactive instead of focusing on real change. Why sports are also scripted. Major sports are not just games. They are scripted storylines designed to create maximum engagement. Underdog stories, dynasty teams, controversial calls, and star players are all manufactured narratives. Emotional highs and lows in sports generate powerful energetic waves, which can then be harvested and redirected. Politics and sports serve the same function, to keep human consciousness locked in cycles of external conflict instead of reclaiming power and creating real change.
Wow.
How scripting benefits the system. Purpose number 1, constant emotional energy extraction. The system does not want people in a calm, focused, creative state. It wants them emotionally charged because strong emotions equal strong energy output. Fear, anger, division, excitement, hope, and disappointment all generate energy. This energy is then harvested and redirected into reinforcing the matrix. Purpose number 2, keeping people distracted from real power. If people are obsessed with elections, political scandals, and sports rivalries, they are not focusing on their own consciousness and personal empowerment. The system thrives on engagement, not truth. It does not care if you are for or against something. It only cares that you are focused on it. Every moment spent emotionally reacting to the script is energy stolen from your ability to create a better reality. Purpose number 3, reinforcing the illusion of choice and free will. People believe they are making choices when, in reality, they are choosing between 2 pre-scripted outcomes. Elections do not determine leaders. Leaders are selected, and elections serve to manufacture consent. The same is true for sports. The randomness of outcomes is often an illusion, designed to maintain the illusion of fairness. The system does not care who wins or loses. It only cares that people are engaged in the game. Step 3, the ultimate goal, feeding the egregore of control. The system itself is an egregore. Just like a corporation or religion, the false light matrix is a thought form, egregore, that survives by feeding on human belief and attention. It must constantly generate new narratives to keep people emotionally engaged, divided, and distracted. The more people focus on the scripted system, the more real it becomes, because reality is a projection of collective consciousness. How the scripted reality reinforces the matrix. It keeps people thinking reality is something that happens to them, not something they create. It ensures people spend energy reacting instead of manifesting their own reality. It continuously reestablishes control structures by reinforcing fear, dependency, and division. The matrix is a self-sustaining system because people keep believing in it, emotionally engaging with it, and giving it energy. Step 4, how to break free from the scripted illusion. Step 1, stop playing the game. Recognize that political drama and sports rivalries are manufactured distractions. The system does not need you to agree with it. It only needs you to be engaged. Withdraw emotional energy from the script and redirect it toward personal empowerment. Step 2, reclaim your energy. Focus on inner mastery, creativity, and real-world skill building. Stop consuming fear-based media and controlled narratives. Practice discernment. Question why a specific event or storyline is being pushed. Step 3, shift consciousness toward creation. Instead of reacting to the system, build parallel systems that operate outside of its control. Connect with natural energy sources, Earth's frequency, real human interactions, and direct experience. Recognize that your energy, focus, and belief shape reality. What you withdraw energy from collapses, and what you put energy into expands. The only way the system survives is if people keep believing in it.
This is really good, actually.
Let me start with a question. Has a hole in the ground ever been a memorial to anyone? Does that honor anyone in any way? What would be significant about a hole in the ground that would honor someone? I've got a thought. Revelation 9:11. They have his king over them, the angel of the bottomless pit. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, but in Greek he is called Apollyon, Apollo, the king of the bottomless pit, the angel of the bottomless pit. So you might honor a king of a pit with a hole, right? So how do we tie in Apollo, New York, and 9/11? Let's look. The Statue of Liberty. Why, JT, that's a lady. No, it's not a lady. That's a man. I'm going to show you that it's a man. Apollyon. Look familiar? Yeah. It's the sun god, Apollo. The illuminator. The light bearer. The light bringer. Does he got horns? Yeah, those look like horns, right? Well, that's pretty significant, since Lucifer has all those same descriptors. Yeah, I wonder if there's a coincidence. There's no coincidences. Let's take another look at Apollo, or sometimes they would call him Helios. Check my boy out over here now. Leaving no doubt now. Looks a little different with the robe open. This is Helios, the sun god in Greek, who was later replaced by, you know who, Apollo, Apollyon. Yeah, no doubt now, huh? And guess what? Apollo also had a sister. A twin sister, Artemis. So Apollo and twins. Huh. Twins. Interesting, only one of them has a spire on the top, huh? Male, female? Maybe. Now let's go back to that memorial. Oh, that's right. There's not one hole in the ground. There's two. Twin holes in the ground. So is that Artemis and Apollo? Or is that Apollyon and Abaddon? Does it matter? I don't think it does. What I think matters is Revelation 9:11 and who Apollyon becomes. Ooh. He becomes the Antichrist. Ooh. And with all the New World Order talk associated with this day, what I find significant is we're almost here and the pit is open.
This is good. Is that an owl? Uh-oh. Oh, she's so cute. Man, he was looking right at you. What a beautiful lucky capture.
It wasn't made by a bunch of truthers. This is BBC. Told you this.
You're going to make this happen?
No. We're going to make models much cheaper. Then we photograph the models.
Fake newsreels?
That's fake newsreels. For the past 10 years, people have been looking at our fake newsreels and listening to our fake commentaries.
And they accept it for the truth. And you can do it. Stop 100 people in the street. How many of them have actually seen a missile or a satellite? They're just told they exist and they believe it.
Yeah, you're getting there. I knew you would. You didn't really believe there were all these things whizzing about up there, did you? Sputniks and rockets. Astronauts crossing their legs for 8 days.
How long has this been going on?
Since Hiroshima.
And the H-bomb, you mean, that doesn't work either?
Right. Dirty.
Very, very dirty.
What was your first reaction? Relief. Oh, yes. Yes, it has to be relief.
You say you can put out what pictures you like on television. Doesn't anybody try to stop you?
No, nobody wants to. 99.386% of the population wouldn't believe this conversation. And the rest are working for us. And they're the top minds, the really responsible people. Scare an ostrich, buries its head in the sand. You scare a hedgehog, it rolls itself up into a ball. When a woman's frightened, she goes out and buys herself a hat.
You mean you scare us so that we'll buy more, so that money moves quicker, production moves up?
We don't say scare when we talk about human beings. We say threaten them emotionally. And there are all sorts of ways, not just the big ones like the hydrogen bomb. Overcrowd them a little with bad planning. Sell them too many motor cars. Anything to keep them a little bit removed from reality. Nowadays, people don't work for money. They work for the idea of money. They don't even love for love. They love for the idea of love. They only hate for the idea of hate. It took us 5 years to find a non-addictive D gave them nice little hallucinations. Made them talk like 3-year-olds. Throw flowers at policemen. Politicians are easy to control. The grosser mentality boys who like to be photographed getting in and out of Daimlers and Whitehall. They come right at the bottom of our organization. A few rungs up the ladder, there are the people in the top secret factories. Just those in a position to know they're making weapons that don't really work.
There must come a time when somebody wants to use one of those weapons. I mean, somebody is standing there with a finger on the button.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Nobody presses the button.
BBC used to be a real news back in the day, huh? Oh, by the way, NASA is the biggest money laundering scheme in history.
A top secret document, CIA wire transcript of Marilyn Monroe threatening to hold a press conference about this because of what Kennedy had told her 2 days later after this document. They found her dead of an apparent overdose. Kennedy was going to push on this. He was going to actually dissolve the CIA. An executive order was going through, and of course, he got assassinated. How free are we if the media is completely corrupt and controlled by these interests?
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
If you're going to control the public through war instead of peace, you have to have an enemy. In order to have an enemy, you have to create the psychological propaganda so that people will believe there's an enemy.
There's a budget
Yep.
in the CIA, Pentagon, to insert certain messages in movies.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Their long-term goal is a global totalitarian military state that they control. The biggest criminal organization on planet Earth is keeping this secret.
This isn't on any map.
This is where James Bond fought, what's it? Goldfinger.
Is there a connection between UFOs, UAPs, and the afterlife, or interdimensional beings in the afterlife?
When you have an experience, although just with, let's say, the other side, which is
yes,
absolutely real. And, you know, those dimensions can be higher frequency all the way up to celestial angelic, lower frequency. In other words, just means more ignorance and density, and some would say demons. I say, well,
right.
But we can also have experiences near, like I had near death. You can have out-of-body experiences. You can have deep meditative states, or even the hypnagogic states, where you go into other worlds and other dimensions. Now, often things would get conflated or confused together because of the similarity of how they appear superficially.
Okay.
So if an ET being is traversing dimensions and it's materializing and dematerializing, and when it's dematerialized, it's in either what I call the gap, we don't have time to go through this, the interface between 3D and astral worlds of light. We view it as all very separate. It's actually interwoven.
Okay.
All right? And so you can have an experience with an ET that's in that state, or you can have experience with another being that's not ET from another star system, but that's from that dimension, or a deceased loved one that's in some similar dimension, or fill in, it's the cosmos is infinite.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but they do make an effort to not go into tourist areas, into resort areas. And
the cartels?
The cartel.
Well, this is the thing, because they own it, or they have investments in it. That's why.
Oh,
you know.
So like, if you go to Punta Mita or something like that, you think they have investments?
It's in their best interest to have things, quiet.
Yeah.
A lot of people. So I do a lot of training, do a lot of classes and stuff like that, travel safety things, and people are amazed with some of the cases that I bring forth that they think they're going to get abducted or drugged by the cartels in some discotheque somewhere down there.
Yeah.
And it's usually Americans traveling down there, doing their thing down there against other Americans, and then coming back up. It's perfect, crime.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Didn't that happen with a guy who killed his girlfriend down there?
Yeah, there's a case, something like that. I think somewhere in the Caribbean, maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, that would be a good way to get rid of somebody. Like,
a lot of those cases.
We made a mistake. The cartel got her. I miss her so much, man.
A lot of the druggings that happen down there during spring break type time frame.
Mm-hmm.
It's always Americans against Americans, kind of doing that stuff, and people think it's the cartels are drugging people.
Did you hear about that lady that drank that margarita and died?
Dude, there's no way this was by accident.
This is insane. 2 years ago, this lady, she drank a margarita and she goes, "Oh my gosh, my mouth is burning." Ran to the restroom, called her mom, was like, "Something's wrong. I just drank this margarita. It's burning like crazy." She went to the hospital and they said it was probably just too spicy. She's like, "No, it's burning." Eventually brought her back, looked at her esophagus. They said it looked like hamburger meat. And what had to happen was the kitchen apparently put in an oven cleaner into her margarita.
No way.
Why would they do that?
Here's the thing. She could not consume food anymore.
Oh, so she survived that experience and then died later.
2 years later.
Oh, that poor girl.
Yeah. The restaurant's like, "We're so sad that she has passed. Sure. We have fired the people that were involved."
I would own
only?
that entire, that's insane. Why did they put oven cleaner in the thing?
Pretty blatant.
Did it happen to anybody else?
Just her.
Dude, come on.
This is the new Clue.
For real,
Yeah.
dude. In the bar with the oven cleaner. That is really crazy.
No one's been charged. No one's been questioned.
That's not just like minor negligence.
No.
Whoever made that drink did that on purpose.
It seems
There's
like
no other way to explain that. Because how many margaritas you serve a night? Hundreds, probably.
The fact that she had to deal with it for 2 years.
That's horrible. That poor girl.
Yo, no esophagus.
Horrifying, dude. That's crazy.
No esophagus kind of sounds like a philosopher, like back in the day.
Oh, no esophagus.
To quote no esophagus.
Funny, guys. This sounds like a hit.
What you're looking at right here could be the only real image of Earth ever taken. Now, what's interesting is this image is eerily similar to a lot of the old maps and old images that our ancestors left for us before, these parasites started taking over and controlling our world and controlling us. If you look at the Webster's Dictionary and Encyclopedia from 1930, it says that the commander, Admiral Byrd, discovered new land in Antarctica. And we have these maps from over 10 centuries ago that show us all these external lands beyond the ice wall. That's right, the ice wall, because water needs to be contained. So Admiral Byrd discovered lands beyond this wall that's protected by every single military and government now that we can't go explore. The 360-degree wall that encompasses our Earth. Now again, what we see with our own eyes perfectly lines up with what we were told by our ancestors who cared about the people, who cared about their civilizations, who built beautiful structures to please the eye and to heal the body and all this stuff. They all depicted this, right? And we see it with our own eyes. They told us on all of their maps about this Antarctic ice wall, the Garden of Eden, the magnetic North Pole, which is why compasses only point to the north. And they don't work in the southern hemisphere because it's too far away from the magnetic center. And there's just endless examples of this. They left this for us, right? They told us that we had a local sun to the Earth, which is, again, exactly what we see. When you see crepuscular rays like this, it means that the light source is local. It's smaller than the Earth. The only way possible to see these crepuscular rays. Otherwise, if the sun was 93 million miles away and a million times bigger than the Earth, light would only come in straight parallel rays. But we always view this, and this is what they told us, right? So it lines up perfectly with what our ancestors told us. And then if we send up any weather balloon as high as it can go, the horizon always comes to our eye level, to the camera level, and it stays flat. That only works on a flat surface. It's only possible on a flat surface. These are all the examples of this. Every single time you do this, it's always like this. If you go up in a plane, look outside. It's always like that. The only time you see a curve is when NASA gives you their fisheye lens. Again, something that we observe and see, the sun set. It actually just moves away from your perspective, just like this coin would move away from your perspective on a flat table. This is closer, this is further away, this is further away. And it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. How would the sun, which is a million times bigger than the Earth, 93 million miles away, gets smaller? If you look at the sun in the middle of the day versus the sunset, the sun gets a lot smaller. That is not possible if the sun is a million times bigger than the Earth. It's not possible. It's impossible. The ice wall is...
My problem with Admiral Byrd is that he's a Freemason. Can't trust
other things, and you saw...
Have they pulled the video? No. You are kidding me. Do you see what I see?
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, while we're on air,
he got nice stash.
They have marked the video private.
Hey, chat, you guys say that you found it? You guys say that you found it on Apple Podcasts? What podcast am I looking up on Apple Podcasts? Do you guys see what's happening in the chat? Do you guys see what's happening in the chat right now? Everybody look in the chat. Those are all first-time Twitch chatters. We start playing it on Apple Podcasts, and then we start getting chat spammed by bots? Something is still going on in the chat right now, live on the stream. All from this, as he starts talking about Epstein and replacement theory, right? They may be trying to get my stream pulled for bots. They're trying to crash the server. That was some timing. I'm sure it's a coincidence. Pastor Rob McCoy has become a very suspicious figure in this case. And Candace has been digging a lot into him and his background, but so have a lot of other people. And Baron Coleman, who has been made famous for finding the Google search trend stuff, he started watching a whole bunch of Pastor Rob's sermons and realized that some really weird stuff got said. And he stumbled across one sermon in particular that was very interesting. And based on what happened, it getting taken down midstream, it seems significant. And so then when I went to go listen to it on Apple Podcasts, what happened to my stream seems even like to add to the significance. And so I felt like I wanted to give you the whole, like as much of the whole thing as possible, because I think that what's in this podcast is probably pretty important to listen to. And he says some very blasphemous stuff about the Bible and about Christianity. Here's what happened on my live stream today when I tried to listen to Rob McCoy's missing podcast.
Insane. I always say they're watching and people blow it off. They know we're onto them.
Putin is saying that he has evidence that we in America are being secretly fed each other. If you're a conspiracy head, you've probably known this for a while, and you're probably familiar with the movie Soylent Green, which came out in the year 1973. It's based in the year 2022, and it has this exact thing going on. A lot of us have seen these ads where Chick-fil-A says our secret ingredient is you. McDonald's and all the different fast food chains are known to say this line.
The masses have a hard time believing anything. Well, we've done a great brainwashing job on them over the centuries, and especially the last few hundred years. We've just brainwashed them completely. They believe anything we tell them. And, in the meantime, we have a lot of fun around Passover where we steal the children. And, I know you know because I've heard it on your show before. I mean, we steal 100 to 300,000 children a year just here in this country. And we drain the blood and we mix it with the Passover bread. And then we throw the bodies into the slaughterhouses that we own. And we grind up all the bodies in the sausage and the hamburger. McDonald's is one of our favorite outlets. And the people, they eat it for breakfast. They eat their children for lunch. And, as Jews, we gotta do what we do.
Has anyone else realized that this is literally part of the curses in Deuteronomy 28 for when God's people disobey his commandments? You shall eat the fruit of your womb, the flesh of your sons and daughters, whom the Lord God has given you, in the siege and in the distress with which your enemies shall distress you. So when an entire land lives in extreme disobedience, like how the US is right now and these last few years, God is a just judge. He has to give legal rights where they're owed. So we've been given over to the enemy spiritually. So this is part of the warning that we are getting. And the reason I've been bringing things like this up a lot recently is because I have found that people find God when God shakes worldly systems, when people realize that they can't depend on any man-made system or any man. They come right out, just like it says in Revelation, take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. For it is shameful even to speak of the things that they do in secret. But when anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible. For anything that becomes visible is light. Therefore it says, awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. It is time to wake up and find Jesus. He is the only thing that will save us from this mess, and he loves you. Do not be afraid of the things in the world if you are a follower of Christ. If you do not yet know him, I would highly suggest getting to know him. Otherwise, you might want to be afraid.
Pray for your food, clothes, beauty products, literally everything.
What they call the social credit system. If any of these family photos, if any of your activities online, if your purchases, if your associations, if your friends are in any way different from what the government or the powers that be of the moment would like them to be, you're no longer able to purchase train tickets. You're no longer able to board an airplane.
ID,
you may not be able to get a passport. You may not be eligible for a job. You might not be able to work for the government. All of these things are increasingly being created and programmed and decided by algorithms. And those algorithms are fueled by precisely the innocent data that our devices are creating all of the time, constantly, invisibly, quietly, right now. Our devices are casting all of these records that we do not see being created, that in aggregate seem very innocent. You were at Starbucks at this time. You went to the hospital afterwards. You spent a long time at the hospital. After you left the hospital, you made a phone call. You made a phone call to your mother. You talked to her until the middle of the night. The hospital was an oncology clinic. Even if you can't see the content of these communications, the activity records, what the government calls metadata, which they argue they do not need a warrant to collect, tells the whole story. And these activity records are being created and shared and collected and intercepted constantly by companies and governments. And ultimately it means as they sell these, as they trade these, as they make their businesses on the backs of these records, what they are selling is not information. What they're selling is us. They're selling our future. They're selling our past. They are selling our history, our identity, and ultimately they are stealing our power and making our stories work for them.
The lust to control other human beings is a story as old as time. There's a very strong drift in the direction of globalization, of the ultimate centralization of control in the hands of unelected officials at supranational organizations.
They want all of the resources of the world in their pocket.
The bigger picture is that an attempt is underway now to collapse liberal democracy and replace it with global technocracy.
This is a coup. They're saying we can control with rules. We don't need currency anymore.
It's like an inverted prison. You are supposedly free to roam about, but everything you want to access is behind lock and key.
The potential for social control is gigantic and potentially irreversible.
They plan to commandeer land, reduce farming, and radically change the food we eat, transform the supply of electricity, and then dictate how we use it, and replace currency with a system of credits. All three strategies are built on the premise of a climate crisis caused by carbon dioxide.
I do not think there's a climate crisis, and I base that on all the evidence and the climate data sets that we build to answer questions just like that. The government is very clear that they want a catastrophic story.
There is no single science paper that proves conclusively that humans control all or most of the global climate.
Europe's mad dash towards net zero is effectively economic suicide. Politicians are purposely impoverishing ordinary people, purposely deindustrializing Europe.
It's just tremendous amount of damage in the name of saving the planet. It does make you ask, what is it we're actually saving if we're paving it over?
I think what we're dealing with here is actually a global war on agriculture.
When you look at how many farms are selling up, we're walking into food shortages.
If I can switch everybody from real food to pharma food, then 100% of the agriculture industry can go through my publicly traded stocks, and I have complete control.
This is the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. But it's far more than that. It's a blueprint. It is the action plan.
All life on Earth is going to be radically changed.
Everything will be monitored. The environmental consequences of every human action.
The general population cannot fathom the psychopathy of the vision that they're facing.
Once the digital ID is in place, it's game over for humanity.
This is a production facility for canned human flesh in the United States. They knocked people out and placed them on the conveyor belt. After being processed through a meat grinder, evenly sized patties are freshly made. Next, the patties are sent to the kitchen in the restaurant. They are then turned into burgers that both adults and children love. The restaurant's business is booming every day. However, the supply of raw materials starts to fall short. So, the factory turns its attention to illegal immigrants. The immigrants they catch are sent to nursing homes. On the surface, these immigrants are volunteers at the nursing homes. In reality, they are being kept as livestock for their flesh. But soon, Jack starts to notice something isn't right. That night, he sneaks off to investigate. Unexpectedly, Jack stumbles upon a dead elderly man suddenly coming back to life. Luckily, a caregiver arrives just in time to subdue the man. The caregiver warns Jack to stay away from the place. But the horrifying truth is hidden beyond what Jack saw. These elderly people are actually young individuals who were fed hormones by the factory. In just a few days, they age rapidly, but their flesh becomes tender and juicy. Jack manages to track down his sister through a tattoo. But just as he finds her, a caregiver arrives and knocks Jack out with a punch. When Jack wakes up, he finds himself in a wheelchair. Even more shocking, half of his face has aged into that of an elderly man. Yet, despite this, Jack refuses to give up on escaping. He quietly frees his arm from the restraints. Then, taking advantage of the moment when no one is looking, he escapes the room. By the time the guards realize something is wrong, it's too late. Jack is already hiding in a secret warehouse. But what he sees next nearly scares him to death. The film's name is American Carnage.
Yep. American Carnage. You know, folks, they give us the truth in entertainment.
You look at Sean Combs. He was an FBI informant until he was arrested. He was an FBI informant going back to the 1990s. So why did the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security raid his house here in Holmby Hills? Thousands of videotapes of senators, congressmen, okay, including people like Hakeem Jeffries now, is on those tapes. Why do you think President Trump got his tax bill passed? Now, President Trump can reveal the Epstein and the Diddy list, but he's smart. He says, I'm keeping this. You see?
That's a leverage.
Leverage. And so Diddy is going down, okay? People like Stephen A. Snitch, okay? His best friend, Stephen A. Snitch, is a boule. Okay, I met him about 2 years ago at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. Nice guy, but he is what we call a house Negro. Okay,
what does it mean?
A house Negro is a person, a boule, that protects the gate of its master. A house Negro, as Malcolm X says, protects the system of its master. Stephen A. Snitch used to say, you know, I'm so excited about making money for my bosses. Okay. So Disney, okay, pedophiles and ESPN. And if you are pro-Trump, they will fire you. Okay. Another topic for another day.
What we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, I'm sorry, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now aren't.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped.
It should be on the front page of every newspaper in the world. It should be the head news story everywhere in the world that a xenomorph, like an alien or serpent or whatever you want to call it, gray alien, everybody has a name for it. Just say a xenomorph, alien type being has been found in a hieroglyph eating a hybrid human. I'll say it again. Imagine that now there has been a discovery of a xenomorph that is eating a human hybrid, meaning that xenomorph bred with a human race, creating a hybrid, but that is turned into the source of food for the xenomorph.
Way.
I mean, imagine that if that was truly the case, if that was actually found. Okay, now quit imagining it because it's been found. It has been found, it's been delivered, and there is an active effort to suppress the information. There is absolutely 100% been found a xenomorph impregnating a female, creating a hybrid child, and that hybrid child is being devoured by his own creator. Just try and wrap your brain around that.
Perhaps a demonstration is in order.
No, that is the last thing that is in order. Oh,
Poor
my
Groupie
God.
character. Leave him alone. Gather round, gang. Dinner time.
So the xenomorph created a hybrid child, and that's his source of food. Okay, now here are some pictures generated by AI that show exactly what it is. It's the same hieroglyph of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Now imagine this, that the same exact agenda, which is a serpent race eating the hybrid race, which the hybrid is part serpent, part sheep. So the hybridization is a serpent with a sheep race. And that exact same agenda is the same thing as the Vatican being a giant serpent and the building next to it, audience hall, a serpent, showing parthenogenesis. The whole setup for the human race is exactly what's in the hieroglyph. A serpent race hybridized with the sheep race, and the serpent race is eating the sheep race. And it has been made manifest by looking at the building, the Vatican, and looking at the hieroglyph of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. They are identical. Huge problem for the human race. That means the human race is a source of energy, food, for a serpent race. Well, wouldn't that be crazy if that's what Christianity was really about? Saving you from being devoured by the serpent? Wow, surprise. That's what it all is about.
I'll admit, within the first few seconds of this video, you're going to go, I'm not so sure about that, man. But tell me if you think all of this, in totality, could be a coincidence. Because I'm thinking it's more of a stretch to think this is a stretch. It's clearly happening and it's in your face. Watch this.
The world might actually be run by demons. At almost every major city, there is symbolism for Lucifer. The United Nations headquarters is located at 666 United Nations Plaza, where there is tons of demonic symbolism such as this end times beast. In the Bible, it says 200 fallen angels descended at Mount Hermon, and the UN just happens to have a base there. The craziest part is that at a city called Astana, a city that's been purposely hidden from us, there's a massive pyramid, much like the one on the money that controls our entire world. And inside this pyramid, there's 200 perfectly aligned chairs. It's almost like the 200 angels that fell have a secret base where they make their plans. At this same city, there is another torch that represents Lucifer. This evil symbolism even stretches to CERN, the government research facility, which has a statue of Shiva, the destroyer of worlds outside of it.
So the 666 Plaza thing is true. The Mount Hermon thing is true. The Lucifer being the light bearer is true. The 200 chairs, that's legit. So that's only the tip of the iceberg. There used to be a website that is now scrubbed from the internet. I cannot find it. If one of you guys is a real techie, find this out for me. There's a website that showed the distances between certain buildings, like the Pyramids of Giza to the Basel, Switzerland World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, is exactly like 6,666 kilometers apart. And the One World Trade Center is exactly 666 miles from the Statue of Liberty, whatever, not saying that exact, but it was a website compiling all these shocking distances that happen to line up with 666s, and they're like significant, buildings in the White House and all that. Now remember also, the Washington Monument, go and convert the height of the Washington Monument from feet to inches, and check out that numerical value. And tell me, whoopsie daisy coincidence. Something shocking is going on in our world today, guys and girls and everyone else. And we're a part of it. We got born into this power struggle that's happening where it's good versus evil. What side are you on? Probably you're on the same side as me. I mean, it's a big club and we're on it, right? Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more.
I'm on Jesus' side.
Albert Pike said this about Freemasonry in this very book. He says that Freemasonry is based almost totally on the Kabbalah.
Yes.
Jewish magic.
Yes.
And many Jewish rabbis have admitted this, and they say that in all of the rituals of Freemasonry, you will find the Kabbalah, the system of magic of the Jews. For example, the 30th degree of Freemasonry is the Knights of Kadosh.
Yes.
And it involves skulls and black robes and a knight laying in a coffin speaking from the dead.
Yes.
And all of this turning to the god of the underworld, the gods of the underworld, is all related to Jewish Kabbalah because they believe in necromancy, communication with the dead. And they believe that in the last days, a Kabbalistic master will come upon the earth and there will be a Jewish utopia, a new world order of the Jews, but they must go along with what are called the Noahide laws and be good Gentiles and go along with Kabbalah. And if they are, and if they recognize that the Holy Spirit is the serpent. And by the way, that's also taught in the 32nd degree of Freemasonry, that is, the serpent is the Holy Spirit. Right. And he is going to encircle the earth.
Something that has a lot of connections with a lot of undeniable proof is Zorro Ranch. So Epstein bought the land from a former governor of New Mexico. And that land was totally encircled by the governor's own property. So no law enforcement could ever approach that property because it's in a circle. So you got Epstein's Zorro Ranch plot of land right in the middle, and then you got the governor's property. The old governor. I think he got out of office in 2011. Completely all the way around it. So if someone did want to come on, you can't just come on there. You're walking onto the governor's land and you know not to mess with the governor. The ranch itself had its own airstrip. So there were elites that were able to fly in, easy access. I'm going to show you guys a picture of Zorro. There's a field to the left that almost looks like a crop circle. You got that field right there. That right there is an old missile silo that was restructured, reformed to an underground bunker. And in that underground bunker, he had a genetics lab on one floor, a baby farm on another floor, and a hospital on the third floor. Epstein was trying to build his own race, his own, what he would call perfect genetic race. And he's even been quoted talking about how he's wanted to have 20 women impregnated at the same time, and he was obsessed with his own DNA.
What's wrong
A lot
with these
of
people?
Jewish people believe their DNA is the master of all DNAs within the human race.
It's the most least talked about part of the entire Epstein saga, and probably the most important.
There's an interesting way of travel in Egypt, and it's not on a boat. It's in these. These are giant granite boxes. This one's in Edfu Temple, and it's a throne. The temple itself shows you how to use these boxes for solar travel. You don't enter the temple from your temple, the two sides. You enter the temple from the center. Center is the corpus callosum that links the two hemispheres together. So symbolically, when you link the two hemispheres together, you earn yourself a wedget. Wedget comes out of the third eye, the one that can see the snakes. The wisdom of the snake is the physics of vibration today. Now the box is on the boat because the box carries you through the wormhole. That is the boat. That boat sits on the vibrations of the microcosm, the atomic, and the macrocosm, the galactic. So how do you interact with all this? The physical layers of your body are what you're inhabiting right now. The nervous system animates this matter using a mysterious force that science will not recognize. Closest analog that we have would probably be plasma. That invisible body is called the Merkaba. Mer being the light wave. The Ka and the Ba are your individual expression of the entire spirit of the universe. Merkaba is the vehicle used to surf those waves like Kelly Slater. Everything is working in torus or donut form. Electromagnetic link is the stream or channel that's created by the earth and the sun. If you're watching this video right now, you're on the shore, you're out of the stream. Enter the stream means to get in a boat.
Let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. Was there a stand-down order? Whew. Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. The whole country is.
Yeah.
But the fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard-right government has a mandate. I gotta be careful the way I say this. They're going to try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. I mean, that's, and I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? And honestly, they have a mandate to go seek justice and revenge. They do. This idea that they need to have a truce or a peace treaty, that's morally crap after you see women and children be burned alive and dragged to the streets. But there are some serious questions here, Patrick.
This is probably he got, Charlie knew some information that didn't want him exposing out to the media.
Stargate is the
Stargate is a program.
The program by the CIA that was in the 70s, right?
Yep.
Okay.
70s and 80s. And 17 of the 19 intelligence agencies of the United States used the Stargate program. 505 individual missions done over the 17 out of the 19 agencies with Stargate in 20 years. The thing is, the people doing this, the remote viewers, they would never be getting the target. They would never know because it creates a feedback loop. They don't know if they did well.
No way.
Yeah, they because first of all, it's a top secret mission, so you can't be briefed on it, right?
No freaking way.
And so they would do it, and the only way that they knew that it was successful is that this agency came back for a different mission.
No
again
freaking
and again
way.
and again and again. Yeah, because they know that even if you see the target 30 years later, right?
Yeah.
And finally you get to see that remote viewing session you did back in the 70s. Now you've changed it. Now you've created a feedback loop. To where, were you remote viewing the moment you looked at the target in the future? Or were you remote viewing the event? It's very strange because there have been times with Angela Ford, one time they asked her like, hey, okay, here's the target, whatever. She starts drawing like this big drum, sort of like this circle and this and that, like all these, and she's like, it's a water purification plant. And they're like, sorry, no, it's a water park. They're like, close, you got close to water park. And then she's like, something doesn't sit well with me. They started doing research. Well, 50 years before that water park was there, it was a water purification plant. They pulled up a picture. The picture of the water purification plant matched her remote viewing almost one for one in size and everything. You could almost lay it over. That's how close it was. So now they're thinking, okay, did you go back in time and remote view, or did you go forward in time and see the picture that we pulled up?
Oh my God.
Very strange.
Oh my God.
Can anyone remote view which stocks are going to pop off?
The next time I saw him was in the London Bridge. And inside the chambers that are beneath it, the foundations of it, they would set up throne room with a black throne, obsidian color black granite. But then it had this fine gold inlay, just beautiful. And it was like light almost emanated from it. It was just beautiful.
And this was under London Bridge?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's an old world tunnel system to this gathering point that the United States military tapped into back in the 30s and 40s during World War II when they built what's called Site 6 in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. It wasn't a city at all. It was just a desert. That is the cardinal point, a meeting place where the gods, these immortals, physically would meet and have parley. They would meet and interact there without threat of retribution and violence. They could have conversations there and make plans and renew covenants or break them at that site. That was a place where they would gather in the desert. So when Site 6 was built, they built in underground infrastructure to supply and resupply United States Army Air Base because the Air Force wasn't there yet. It was a rest and recuperation zone, a secret place where soldiers and pilots could come and rest. Site 6 is what it was named. It was a dot on a map, classified map. That's all it was. Robert P. McCulloch is who bought Site 6 from the military and from the state of Arizona. He bought the territory there. There was no lake. They built eventually what's called the Parker Dam. Parker Dam is what feeds the vast majority of water and electricity, not only to Phoenix, but over to Los Angeles. They built an entire tunnel system that takes that bloody infested water I just described to you. That's what people drink in these cities all over the West Coast that are in deserts. That's what people drink in Phoenix and Tucson. And they pump that water and that electricity, which is generated power from that iniquity. And they literally power up the world. That's their gathering place. When Robert P. McCulloch, he hired a man named C.V. Wood. This intermingles with the Jason projects and the people that are in Southern California that were doing secret scientific experiment projects on children and mind control operations. Wow. And they built a pleasure island in Lake Havasu City Lake, which is a sovereign territory of the city of London. It's an embassy for ambassadors. Different representatives of different nations can go there and are immune from prosecution, just like Disney World is in Florida. It is not United States territory. This is why when Governor DeSantis is trying to enforce taxes, they invoke a clause which says, oh, by the way, we're under the crown.
Yes.
Yeah, which crown? The red dragon. If you look at this, the heraldic symbol of the city of London, it is guarded by the red dragon.
Spain produces monthly a substance that the Vatican calls holy chrism in secret rituals. You waste it without knowing. Christos was never a proper name. In Greek, it literally means oil, the same precious oil that your pineal and pituitary glands secrete when the moon crosses the degree of your birth. Carey exposed in his book, God, Man, the Word Made Flesh, preserve this secretion for 72 hours without alcohol, and it rises through the spine, explodes in potency in the brain, and produces the state they sell as salvation through Jesus. Golgotha means place of the skull, and it's not a hill in Jerusalem. It's the base of your skull where the optic nerves cross. The bread and wine of communion, metaphors for this sacred secretion from your body, which they replaced with crackers and juice. Constantine, who boiled his own wife, changed the original lunar calendar. Result, you never get the timing of your sacred cycles right. While popes fast during the correct lunar periods, you pay tithes, thinking you need a priest to talk to God. The illumination you beg for on your knees is being produced right now in your head.
What is that? Ooh, breakfast. FDA approved, people.
Is this species of mushrooms already smarter than we think?
That makes more sense if you eat the mushroom first.
I went down the wrong rabbit hole on TikTok today. So I seen a video of a guy saying that pigs' eyes have a strong resemblance to humans' eyes. And then he gave an explanation for the shit, and it really messed me up. Look at these damn eyes. So basically he said that he read somewhere that it said in the Bible, Jesus casted out a legion of demons into pigs. And of course, if you know the Bible, you all know the story. Those demons didn't want to go to hell, so he put them into pigs. Okay, so now listen to this shit. Why is it said that the pig is the most dirtiest animal to eat? And I'm not trying to spoil your day. I'm just taking you down the rabbit hole that I went down because this shit really just messed me up. The last point he made was that pigs cannot look up at the sky. With how their body is built and how they are made, they cannot look up at the sky. Oh my God. Basically, pigs can't look up to God. Pigs cannot look up to heaven. That shit smoked me. But that didn't smoke.
Closest thing to eating human flesh.
The world's second most recognized climate engineer, Dr. Ken Caldera, stating what he did for the DoD was to design methods of spraying pathogens into clouds to infect the populations below.
You could imagine, say, putting pathogens in a cloud, then would rain down on your enemy.
We know in the outbreak of CV-19, at one point, 85 countries were infected in 3 days. That's indicative of an airborne dispersion. We know from Italian researchers, they found CV-19 attached to airborne particulates. We know from our precipitation testing, we have polymer fibers and graphene in our rain. Those two elements are used militarily as biological carrier platforms to carry a pathogen from the clouds to the ground to infect the population below. Why is that in our rain right now? Could they, at any point of their choosing, put something much more lethal into the precipitation and level the playing field? Certainly they could.
Every single bureaucrat involved should go to prison for life without parole.
Do you think there's anything that kids that want to get into this type of industry need to watch out for?
In the music industry, you have to be very careful from the pedophilia. There's a lot of stuff that's in TV right now with Sean Puff Daddy Combs, with Jeffrey Epstein, with all these people that are coming out now getting busted for these crazy orgies and parties. That breaks my heart to think that somebody that was an adult with a functioning mind, no matter how depraved it is, but that they would assault an innocent child. And them, it's reprehensible, and I don't know why there isn't stricter punishment for that. I think a lot of it is because people just don't know what's happening.
Is that common in these circles?
Well, there are a lot of people that are very famous musicians. The rumor has it they were executed because they were getting ready to expose pedophilia.
Executed as in killed?
The rumors going around about Chester from Linkin Park and about Chris from Soundgarden was that they were making a movie on child abuse and child trafficking, I think it was. They're both gone, and it's very suspicious.
Michael Jackson and Prince?
Approaching the target, holding at 4,011 meters, temperature 36 Celsius, stable. Copy. Vent plume looks strong, getting good flow reading.
Wait, do you see that?
Oh my
What
God.
is that? Back up, back up.
You ever wondered how the Amish keep food cold without electricity? They use a brilliant cooling system called a Zeerpot that requires no power whatsoever. This ancient technology dates back to Egyptian times and can maintain temperatures around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, even in hot weather. Creating your own Zeerpot refrigerator is surprisingly simple. You'll need 2 unglazed terracotta pots of different sizes, with the smaller one fitting inside the larger, with about 1 to 2 inches of space between them. You'll also need sand, water, and a cloth cover. Place the smaller pot inside the larger one and fill the gap between them with sand. Pour water into the sand until it's completely saturated. Place your food in the inner pot and cover with a damp cloth. As the water in the sand evaporates, it pulls heat from the inner chamber through a process called evaporative cooling. For maximum efficiency, place your Zeerpot in a shaded, breezy area and re-wet the sand 1 to 2 times daily. This simple device can extend the shelf life of vegetables from 2 days to nearly 2 weeks in hot weather. The Amish have preserved countless self-sufficiency techniques that most Americans have forgotten.
I'm the most feared man in Hollywood. They don't like me in Hollywood.
Why do they not like you in Hollywood?
I don't wear dresses. I don't do that gay stuff on the TV. You had to get some other black person to do that stuff. I'm talking, that's gunning. But they all confess they love the Lord. But you cannot compromise yourself if you love the Lord. So I play tough guys, but young kids want to be soldiers. Young kids don't want to follow a guy to wear a dress. You know what I'm talking about.
Did you know it's illegal to communicate with a dolphin? You know that?
Yes. Do you know why?
Why is that?
So I think it was 1927, because I just looked this up recently, because they stopped in Hawaii now. You can't take the boats out to swim with the dolphins. It's illegal. It's cruel for the animals. And I was like, okay, let me
Proof for the animal.
It's like it's cruel for the dolphins, but we'll dump shit into the ocean for them. Like
Daily, yeah.
They taught dolphins how to track their enemy ships and how to put different like explosives onto the ship, and they could communicate with humans, and that they were learning how to communicate back and forth, and they didn't want people to learn that because dolphins will tell them what's going on under the ocean.
And that's what I heard too.
Isn't it?
Whenever my sister sent us the story maybe like last year or something. She was like, "Did you know that you couldn't talk to dolphins?" I was like, "We can't talk to dolphins. They're dolphins." And she was like, "No." And she sent this story, and I was like, "So we can't? How can we communicate?" She was like, "I don't know." And I looked it up a little bit, and it was like dolphins know stuff that they don't want us to know. And I was,
I think their frequency can communicate with us. Hey, folks, if you want to send me video, you can send it through my Instagram, okay, at Broski Ray. The link is in the description.
When I first started studying autism, which was back in 1986, 1987, it was only about 1 in 10,000 children, and now it's 1 in 30. Everything from an increased C-section rate, ultrasound during pregnancy, changes in the diet, which change the microbiome, which we know plays a huge role in neurotransmitters, Wi-Fi and various electromagnetic fields that are not natural to the earth. When babies are born, there's tens of thousands of chemicals in the umbilical blood. The placenta does not filter out chemicals. It actually concentrates them in the fetus. The use of glyphosate in so much of our agriculture, that's a known toxin. It's no putting the genie back in the bottle. What we need to do is we need to find ways in which we can optimize our health.
So it's not overdiagnosis?
No, it's definitely not overdiagnosis.
Another conspiracy theory that's going to blow your mind?
Let's do it.
The day before 9/11, Rumsfeld gave a press conference where he talked about trillions of dollars missing. Then a plane slams into the very part of the building where they were doing the accounting. You have to see it. What the f did he just say?
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
It's literally like a zombie, bro. Look at it. Just look at the deer, bro. This is not normal. Okay, now why is this alarming? First, we hear about the bunny rabbits have all kinds of weird things growing out of them. All these animals that are showing these really weird viruses and growths, okay? At the same time, we got the National Guard being moved around the country because they're getting ready for something to happen. I think round 2 of what happened in 2019 when they closed the world down, that was a test run. I think they're about to do some shit where all the animals get sick and it spreads to human beings. And I think the reason this is going on is because everyone is awake, everyone's realizing what's going on, who's responsible.
There's no putting the genie back in the bottle.
This is what's going on in China as we speak, and unless we opt out, this is what's being implemented right here.
Residents who aren't following the rules are captured on camera from 3 different angles.
As soon as the squads and volunteers in residential districts spot an issue, they can report it and upload footage. They take a photo, report the issue, and then our system automatically decides which department to forward the matter to.
The goal is to have complete coverage in all major public places, such as train stations, street intersections, and parks. China's state media boasts that police can identify every single person on the street in just 1 second.
This is what they call a smart city, and that's the blueprint for all of us. Some people will say it's more safe, but safe from what? From the conditions created by the same government that wants to implement digital ID. This will kill our freedom, our creativity, our opinions, and our individual light. The dictator's dream. Don't let them fool you. It's a scam to enslave us.
Smart cities is just another name for prison.
Olha aí, galera. Esse aqui é o peixe vampiro da Amazônia.
Man, look at them teeth.
E esse peixe aqui pode ultrapassar o seu 1 metro. Esse aqui, em caso, tem 1 metro, mas eu vou mostrar uma curiosidade pra vocês. Olha isso. É um peixe que evoluiu, turma. Ele tem essas cavidades no próprio crânio, que os dentes são projetados e entram aqui. É um peixe muito perigoso de manusear, tem que ter todo cuidado porque qualquer brincadeirinha aqui pode causar um acidente grave. Então, ó, isso aqui é um peixe brasileiro, turma, que bota medo em muita gente. Mas olha só como ele evoluiu. E uma curiosidade, se porventura ela chegar a perder esses dentes aqui, tem 3 fileiras logo aqui abaixo. Então ela quebra um dente, outro já sobe no mesmo instante. É um peixe que evoluiu muito, turma, e é extremamente lindo e esportivo. Essa aqui é a nossa paiara, peixe vampiro, cachorra larga. Linda, né?
I'm not fishing for things that could hunt me.